Hi, teammates. I'm quickly going to read over the Bill of Rights intro and the First Amendment, and I'm also going to model how to write a gist statement and find key details. So you're going to be doing this for the first 5 amendments, and I'll do the first one with you now, but you still need to write the gist here. Okay, so let's read the intro first. The Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is like a shield that protects all citizens. The right that it defines are central to our lives as Americans. When people talk about protecting our liberties or freedoms, they are often talking about freedoms granted by the Bill of Rights. Okay, so let's read about the First Amendment. Yesterday we talked about the First Amendment and how it protects your freedom of speech, but it actually protects 5 individual freedoms. So, I just can't see my recording. I want to make sure I'm recording my face. Okay, there it is. Great. All right. So, let's read about the 5 freedoms that the First Amendment protects. Follow along with me. Amendment 1, it protects 5 individual freedoms. The First Amendment of the Bill of Rights guarantees 5 freedoms for everyone in the United States. All citizens have the freedom of religion. Religious freedom was very important to early Americans. For example, the Pilgrims left England because people there were forced to join the Church of England. The First Amendment protects Americans' freedom to choose their own religious beliefs. So you can't be discriminated against based on your religion. You have the freedom to practice whatever religion you want or not to practice religion at all. For example, a job can't not hire you for the job because of your religion. That would be discrimination based on this First Amendment right. All right, now let's talk about the freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is the freedom to express your opinions and beliefs. Because of the First Amendment, Americans are free to criticize the government and express unpopular ideas. Americans wanted this freedom because many colonists had been arrested for criticizing British laws. So they wanted to be able to protect our freedom of speech. We can criticize the government. Freedom of press means the freedom to report news and express opinions in newspapers and in other ways. So you can also write criticisms of the government in the newspaper or like on the internet. One thing that I would say with freedom of the speech and freedom of the press, you can't threaten other people because that's violent. So that wouldn't be protected. But you can criticize the government and express your opinion. That is protected. Okay, last 2. The First Amendment also protects people's freedom of assembly. That means that people have the right to gather in groups. So you have the right to peacefully protest. In Denver, we live pretty close to the Capitol building, and if you drive by, most days there will be people with signs expressing their freedom of assembly. They have the right to express their ideas. Protests are not supposed to, it doesn't protect protests or riots, which become violent, but you do have the right to protest peacefully under the First Amendment. That means the freedom of assembly means to assemble or come together. All right, last sentence. It also gives the freedom to petition. So petitions are when you sign pieces of paper or you sign your signature in support of an issue. I believe I forget the amount of signatures, but if you have a certain amount of signatures, the government has to look at it and respond to that issue. So freedom of petition is the right to ask the government to correct an injustice, to correct something that we think is wrong. So those are the 5 freedoms underneath the First Amendment: freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, the right to protest peacefully, and freedom to petition, to ask government to change something. All right, so let's go over how to write a gist statement. So you're going to do this for every amendment. So this is the first one. So you're going to also write a gist statement for amendments 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you have to have your main who and your main what. So write a gist statement about the First Amendment. Be sure to explain what amendment you are focusing on and what right or rights it protects for American citizens. So you have to tell me what amendment you're talking about, what number, and what does it protect you from. So, and just a helpful hint. I put the gist statement, it's the first thing you do under each amendment. But if you're stuck on what it protects, reread the passage. And then also, you might want to answer these multiple choice questions first. They will help you write your gist statement if you're stuck. So if you're stuck on your gist statement, reread the slide above and answer the multiple choice first. They will help you write the gist statement. So you can go out of order, but always make sure you're writing your gist statement. That's the most important part of the lesson. So to start every gist statement, tell me what amendment we're talking about. We're talking about the First Amendment. So you're going to copy this next too. The First Amendment. And then what does it protect? This one is protects 5 rights. So that's what we're going to do it together because we're going to write all 5 freedoms that it protects. The First Amendment protects citizens' right or protects freedom of speech, freedom of the press. That's 2. You can see it here, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of I forgot freedom of religion, actually. Protects freedom of religion. This is a long one. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly. I can see it there in the text. Freedom of assembly and freedom to petition. Great. So let me check the CFS. Do I have the main who or the amendment that I'm talking about? Yep, I have the First Amendment. And then did I explain what freedoms it protects for American citizens? Yes, I included all 5 for the First Amendment. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and freedom to petition. So read each slide about the amendments 1 through 5. And then if you're still stuck, do the multiple choice first. And then before you move on to the next amendment, write your gist statement. Make sure it has the main who and the main what. Tell me what it protects in your own words. And if you're stuck, go back and reread the slide, and you should be able to understand and write a gist statement. Text me or message me on GoGarden if you have any questions.